Well, it's Saturday the 30th of March, and this is episode 2402 of 301 Permanently Moved to Online, a personal podcast 301 seconds in length, written, recorded, and edited by me, at the JMO. This week, I'd like to talk about my concept of internet escape velocity. But before I can do that, I need to talk about community. For the last 5 years or so, one of the big online trends has been the creation of communities. Artists, filmmakers, musicians, even brands were told to build a community around their work and not cultivate an audience. Just as the meaning of the word friend was diluted and stretched out into nothingness during the 2010s, so a similar thing has happened to the concept of community. I'm not saying this is all bad per se, it's just what's happening. But I do think the things that we now call online community have almost nothing to do with the meaning of the word community as we experience it in real life. In fact, I agree with Rafa the Builder when he says that community is the purest form of internet media. And my friend Wasim Al-Sindi has said, the medium is now an assemblage of the message and the messengers, enmeshed and entangled with one another. But anyways, for my part, I've largely eschewed setting up any kind of community space for subscribers or people interested in my work, because managing community is hard and quite frankly, sucks. I spent much of my online teenage years as an admin on a PHP BB forum attached to a website dedicated to the local DIY punk music scene. This was around 2001, and this experience shaped my idea of what online communities are. The forum was inhabited by people who all knew each other in real life. We would see each other every Friday at the local punk venue. Being tied to a real-world place, time and scene meant that the worst of the forum flame war drama was bound up with real-world interpersonal conflicts and beef. Vice versa too. The phrase, chat shit online, get glassed in real life, was a lesson I saw someone learn at 1 AM on a windswept clifftop when I was about 16. But this community of people, regardless of its problematic social dynamics, was one that got things done. We organised gigs, charity football events, parties, tours, record releases, and made zines. Margate's punk scene, at the turn of the millennium, was a community that had escape velocity. Most of the creators I support online have a Discord, and as a result, I'm in a lot of Discords. But it's clear to me, half a decade into the so-called community experiment, that unless a great deal of energy is expended managing an online community, usually by the creator and/or motivated unpaid admins, they will die off. All online communities begin with a default amount of what I'll call social gravity. This then attracts like-minded people towards it. As more and more people join, the community begins to burn brighter, usually for about a window of 6 months to a year. But then they taper off, as social issues are left unaddressed and people subsequently lose interest. It's during the initial attractor phase that a community begins to sense that it's reached potential escape velocity. You know how in the Persona games the main characters get sucked into the TV? Escape velocity is the opposite. A community vibes-based equation of time, energy, and motivation that, if balanced correctly, will allow it to manifest things out of cyberspace and into real life. They might seem cringe in 2024, but the flash mobs of the mid-2000s are a good example of escape velocity. Ideas that began on the internet and acquired enough gravity to pierce the membrane of cyberspace and manifest in real life. There are many projects that have reached escape velocity in my own media diet. Josh Citarella's Do Not Research has yielded art shows, books and journals, etc. The New Models podcast runs events, and the Near Future Lab Discord has all sorts of initiatives that have reached escape velocity and spun out into real life or onto the internet. And I had my own recent experience of a Telegram group that I'm in reaching escape velocity. We put on a conference and published a 56-page journal earlier this month. It's important to recognise though, that when a community forms around the gravity of an idea and reaches escape velocity and manifests something into real life, it transforms. It ceases to be a community and becomes a project. The community doesn't go away though, it now travels along with the project, supporting, creating, and consuming its own outputs. To paraphrase Jenny Odell, a project is the creation of things for people with the context to understand it. Lots of creators currently shepherd discords full of talented people, and this is where the idea of meta labels come in. They are a weak signal for communities and groups of people seeking escape velocity after the gyre of the creator economy. Yancey Strickler, ever one to coin a catchy phrase, calls meta-labels creativity in multiplayer mode. Escape velocity is the idea that we need to all do more with others in real life.